Hello Internet, Taliesin here and welcome to another episode of the Weekly Reset, Taliesin Evitel's wondrous wisdom show. And just a quick one this week because Evitel is still recovering from her surgery, has very bloodshot eyes, but also super amazing 2020 vision eyes, but also, unfortunately, not Demon Hunter eye-beaming laser eyes, but you can't have everything. So no hilarious intro this week, apologies, and instead, a short story. You may remember if you joined us last episode, a few days ago, we had a video backlog, that I was talking about Shadowlands patch 9.1 and how it was nowhere to be seen, and how it was a genuine video game tragedy that a great opening patch like Shadowlands was left waiting so long for new content compared to other expansions, and how that would be the case even if the 9.1 PTR was announced just hours after the video was released, which in a playful way, I did that zoom in thing to my face and I said, also, they definitely won't. Well, Internet, I think honestly, we were okay until I did the face zoom thing because that...
They definitely won't.
Clearly set off an alarm at Blizzard HQ that Taliesin humiliation and wrong proving was now possible. A decision was made, a button was pressed, and within 2 hours of the Weekly Reset going live, a blue post went out informing the world that the 9.1 PTR would be arriving in 2 weeks. Which is A, awesome news, and B, you're welcome. You're all very welcome. And also, apologies, because we missed the Weekly Reset for 2 weeks before that episode, and if we'd done that segment 2 weeks earlier, as we'd planned, then to adequately humiliate me, Blizzard would have had to have released the blue post saying the PTR was coming in 2 weeks 3 weeks ago. Right now, we'd be talking about the PTR, which would be live, and we'd have a show jam-packed with new stuff, and data mining, and speculation, and red spoiler bots, and all sort of fun times. Or would we? Because obviously I'm very happy that the PTR is on its way. I'm ecstatic to have been wrong. This is incredibly good news. But I do have some concerns about what's actually going to be on the PTR when it launches in a week and a bit. What it means for the release of 9.1 and indeed Shadowlands as a whole, because there are a few of us getting pretty worried about what all of these delays could result in, and whether we could be looking at a WoD-style abandoned expansion somewhere down the line. And since we are still in this pre-PTR limbo without all that much news, I hope you will indulge me talking about just those things. Although that's not to say that there was no news in the last few days. Blizzard put out a blue informing us of changes to the PvP matchmaking algorithm, which should help the very top rated players be less likely to play games that they don't get any rating for winning. A problem caused essentially because Shadowlands has seen tremendous participation in Arena, with the number of unique players and total matches exceeding those seen in recent seasons. And like, yeah, no shit, that's what happens when you attach a straight up no frills vendor to a mode of play, Blizz. People play that mode more. Maybe that information will be useful in the future. Who knows? And basically, the more people that participate in rated PvP, the more likely it is that the best players will reach high matchmaking rankings. But right now, there's a reasonable amount of top players at the very upper boundaries who are increasingly not getting rating from their wins, which means they stop playing. And that means the players just below them on the ladder also find it harder to gain rating. So Blizz are increasing the upper bound of matchmaking to decrease the likelihood that will happen. This isn't really news to 99.9% of you, but it is news. There's the news that Omar Gonzales, the individual at Blizzard most credited for making classic WoW happen, having been responsible for the first prototype, has left the company to join Mike Morhaim's Dreamhaven. Dude started out at Blizz in QA for Warcraft 3. He's an absolute legend. Any team would be sad to lose him, and it's really cool that he's teaming up with Mike Morhaim again, because I really want Dreamhaven to release some good stuff, please. Extra added bonus, it gives me my second favourite type of forum comment. The someone who's been at the company for a long time has left, this is proof the game is dead shit show. Rip, now WoW and classic WoW going down the drain. All the good talent bailing from the sinking ship that is SS Blizzard. Can you see the rats fleeing? Activision is digging the grave of a great company. I love those ones. Good luck to Omar. He's been giving his all to Warcraft for 18 years now, and no one is going to blame someone for making a change after that long. Like, I love my baby boy more than anything on earth, but when he's 18, he can go. Like, he can move out. I'll still love him and hope that we can still hang out and spend lots of time together, obviously, but honestly, I'm with Omar on this one. 18 years is a long-ass time to look after anything, no matter how much you like it. And of course, this week, we had all the April Fool's jokes to contend with, I mean enjoy, like Blizzard's traditional fake patch notes, which were funny, as always, obviously, but that humour is always slightly laced with sadness when, you know, we really could do with some real patch notes. There's Wowhead's pretend data mining, which is kind of not like an April Fool's joke at all. It's just like legit straight up cool stuff that you'd really like to see in the game, which a lot of thought and skill has gone into, but again, kind of makes you sad. The Wowhead April Fool stuff is always like the equivalent of your friend telling you that they're pregnant, or just got engaged, or just got into a really good school, or got an awesome job, and you're like, oh wow, that's amazing, congratulations, I'm so happy for you, and they're like, April Fools, and you're like, oh, so just to be clear, I don't get the cool Badwin horse to ride then. Okay. Damn. For me, the best April Fool's jokes are things that you could just about believe happening, but which you wouldn't want to happen. Like jokes that you're really relieved when you find out that they're jokes, rather than really disappointed that they were jokes. Like Ashloon's purchasable anima from the Blizz store Photoshop. Now that is a good April Fool's right there. It's funny in its own right, it's not going to make you wish it was real, and best of all, it results in probably my favourite type of forum comment, the relatively rare getting angry at Blizz for a funny made up thing even though I know it's funny and made up shit show. We have hit a new low in WoW. This will be real soon enough, fish Blizzard greedy parasites. I know this is a joke, but it just proves how low WoW has sunk. It's a dead game now, and this is just the cherry on top. There it is, dude! Blizz finally hammers in the final nail into this game, about time too. P.S. I know this is an April Fool's. Exquisite. But yeah, it is just the kind of thing Blizz would do, apart from the fact they've never done anything like it in WoW. And there will probably be some more news too in between this episode being written and this episode going live, so I will be sure to link all of the relevant Wowhead articles in the description below. So have a scroll there and check them out now if you like, because I am going to talk about 9.1, the PTR of which is on the way at last, which means that 9.1 is on the way at last, and this is obviously good news. This is party in the street, kiss your neighbour, let off fireworks, buy a new dog news, obviously. Like seriously, just... yeah! With that out of my system, there are some very important questions that this news begs, such as how much is actually going to be in the PTR when it initially goes up? What does this suggest we are looking at for a patch release date? How is that going to compare to other expansions? Will it be worth the wait? And more. But let's start with these. How much are we expecting to actually be in the PTR? And I only ask because, well, at BlizzConline, when they announced Chains of Domination, they didn't really show us much at all. A few screenshots of the new raid and new zone. New area. It's not a zone. Korthia has been described as specifically not a new zone, but a new area in the Maw, in the same way that the Beast Warrens is an area in the Maw. And some of the new transmogs and pets, and that's kind of it for completed assets. Nothing moving at all, which leads me to think we might not expect Korthia to be part of that opening week PTR. It seems unlikely that the mega mythic dungeon Tazavesh will be either. All we've seen of that, apart from concept art, is some brokers and Steve Danuza's tweeted screenshot of the infinite pirate dragon in situ, which I would bet real cash money had just been emailed to him by the dungeon design team, and it was also the first time he'd ever seen the infinite pirate dragon in situ. And I might be wrong, as you may have noticed, that can definitely happen, but I think that early on at least, it's most likely that the PTR will be more about the new Conduit and Soulbind expansions, our first look at the 40 new levels of Renown, the rewards for many of which will likely be placeholders, changes to the existing Maw with the removal of the Eye of the Jailer, new teleports, maybe a new skybox of some sort, and maybe the quests that give you, your Covenant and others, their foothold in the Maw, maybe leading to Korthia itself if we're super lucky. And of course, a whole heap of new data mining from Wowhead with all the new models and story snippets and voice lines we've got to look forward to. That's my favourite bit. And if that doesn't sound like loads, well, remember, it's not a 0.2 patch, and just like Shadowlands 9.0 compared very favourably to the opening patches of other expansions, so it seems Chains of Domination is going to compare very favourably to other 0.1 patches in terms of the amount of content it offers. And that's awesome. Of course, where it compares staggeringly unfavourably is in terms of schedule, something that we talked about quite a lot last week, but which we can now go into even more detail about, because now that the PTR is on its way, and complete guesswork speculation about what's going to be in the PTR at first aside, we can now make a more educated guess about when the patch itself will release. A PTR for a major patch usually lasts between 2 and 3 months. Blizzard said themselves at BlizzConline that they expect this to be on the longer side, so it could be as soon as June. An August release is also absolutely possible, so let's split the difference and say July sometime. I mean, first of all, obviously, that is a massive wait for new content from when the expansion went live. You'll remember my graph last week comparing the release schedule of Shadowlands so far to Legion. I said at the time that wasn't really a fair comparison because Legion went like the absolute clappers. So here's a release schedule comparison taking in BFA, Legion, WoD, and Mists of Pandaria. You can see that on the chart I've included what we've had of Shadowlands opening patch so far, and a representation of how long we might expect there still to be based on what I just said. And as you can see, it doesn't make for pretty viewing. Shadowlands already has just about the longest opening patch in WoW expansion history at 132 days so far. Only Wrath at 153 days and Kata at 140 days were longer, and of course 9.0 is going to smash both of those by the time its first update actually arrives. This will be the longest opening patch of any World of Warcraft expansion ever. And in modern terms, it's bananas. If our reasonably generous prediction is true, then BFA, an expansion that everyone agreed moved far too slowly, was over halfway towards 8.2 by the time Chains of Domination will release. Legion and Warlords were both into their 0.2 patches by the time we expect Chains of Domination. And yes, just to be clear, we'd opened Shipyards and Tanan Jungle and every single raid in WoD by the time we expect Chains of Domination. And obviously, this is an absolute tragedy, as I think I may have mentioned last week. And so it's all very well saying 9.1 has lots of content compared to other 0.1 patches, but in most cases, we should be comparing it to the content in other expansions 0.1 and 0.2 patches, and suddenly it doesn't fare so well, does it? And that's why this terrible scheduling is a total shit sandwich, because it means when the content eventually arrives, there's every chance that it won't feel there's enough of it to be worth the wait, through no fault of the content itself, which will probably be awesome. We're fighting Kel'Thuzad and Sylvanas in the next raid. It's going to be awesome. And it brings us to the most scary question of all, for me, because yes, it's very possible that we will be getting to patch 9.1 after WoD had released literally all of its content on the same time frame. And as most of us know, Warlords of Draenor was an expansion which was, to all intents and purposes, abandoned by Blizz as a bad lot to focus on making Legion an absolute banger, which it absolutely was. And I can't be the only one who's starting to get a little niggly worry at the back of my mind now, like, well, what if they do the same to Shadowlands? What if Blizz decide it's just better to skip straight to the end after 9.1 and focus on the next expansion? The next expansion, which, don't forget, if everything was normal, we would expect to be announced at BlizzCon 2021 in 7 months. And does that blow your mind? Because that blows my mind. So what if they just scrap Shadowlands? There's clearly a pretty carefully defined story that this expansion is following. There clearly is a plan leading all the way up to 10.0, but what if Blizz just don't? What if getting to 10.0, Intergalactic Transdimensional Disco War, Tuskars in Space on time, is more important than finishing Shadowlands properly? I'm sure there's a few of you watching this right now who would love that, but it's almost certainly not going to happen, in my opinion. I think it's far more likely that Blizz will power through with their planned content and patch schedule for Shadowlands, no matter how long it takes. Partly because, frankly, the main reason that this expansion has been so badly delayed is still a reason. And at the moment, at least, there is still a global pandemic. Team 2 are still working from home. Any further delays that would impact Shadowlands if they stick with it will just impact Tuskars in space instead if they switch their focus to that. So far more likely, IMO, we are currently in for a very slow rollout and a very long expansion. And if that means Blizz don't get to announce the next expansion this year, and if that means Blizz don't get to release the next expansion next year, well, you know, maybe there'll be a Diablo 4 or Overwatch 2 to fill that slot. And then hopefully Shadowlands can gather steam again in the second half when things get more back to normal. And I want to make this clear again, I don't even really blame Blizzard for any of this. It's something which has affected the entire industry. Every entire industry, pretty much. But I still think it's important to be aware of just how much longer Shadowlands has had to survive on its launch content with no updates, because that helps us properly evaluate and critique that content. Like, of course we're getting bored of Shadowlands now. It is the least updated expansion we have ever had. That boredom or relentlessness or frustration isn't necessarily a signifier of the content's quality so far as much as it is the scheduling. And with the PTR on its way and all those new things to talk about when it arrives, that is the last I plan to talk about how long 9.1 is taking to arrive. Thank you for indulging me. Man, I just can't wait till we got some sweet Dreadlord data mining to talk about, you know? But thank you for joining us today. Evie's eyes should be all cleared up for a return to proper streaming and weekly reset duties by the end of this week. We've got a new video coming out before then too, and if you want a podcast to listen to in the meantime, don't forget I host WoW Killer every week with Garrett on Twitch and YouTube and all your favourite podcasting services. Basically, everything's getting back on track in WoW and T&E world now, and that makes me feel good. I hope this episode made you feel good. If you liked it, don't thank us, thank our patrons who give their actual real-life money to make all of our work happen. And guys, as always, from the bottom of my tiny little heart, thank you, because without you, there would be a whole lot less Taliesin Evitel. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Garrett Winezo. No, my name is Taliesin from me and Evitel and Anirin too. Until next time, cheerio.